All right, everyone. We are live here with a longtime friend of mine, Nerene Jack. I've known her, since I was about 17 years old. She is one of our secret weapons here on our real estate team. Nerene has an impeccable eye for the detail when it comes to real estate. Now, Nerene started staging for us a number of years ago and has grown a really great business helping other clients get their homes ready to go on the market. So she's joining us today to talk about 3 common mistakes that sellers make when they go to sell their home. And if you browse through enough real estate photos, you will see a lot of, I guess, poorly marketed homes is a good way to put it, right? You're going to see stuff that you just scratch your head. Why would somebody market their home that way? So, Nerene, before we get into the 3 common mistakes that sellers are making, tell us a story. Give us a little bit of background about, kind of who you are, both as your family dynamic, your history, and kind of how you got here. So tell us your story.
Well, first of all, I'm a wife, a mother of 4, grandmother of 14. I've known Matt forever, as he said. And really my genesis into this business was through Matt. It was, let's get up off the couch. I had been a homeschool, stay-at-home mom for years. I didn't know who I was. And he helped move me toward what my passion was. And my passion really was this. It takes all parts of who I am and puts it together. So I'm not your typical stager. I believe that staging is much more than just a nice design prettifying a house. It is about marketing. If you don't have a stager, a professional stager who sees what they do as marketing, you need to look somewhere else. So I first got accredited as an accredited staging professional and then wanted more. And I went into Nashville for 10 days and did a very intense course. And I am now an accredited expert psychological stager. And it really aligns with who I am and how I see staging and how we affect both the sellers to be good marketers and how we then take their asset and affect buyers' emotion. In a nutshell, that's who I am.
Well, and I love it. Now, I'm not, I'm a very logical person, right? That's just the way that my brain operates. I'm a numbers guy. I want to see numbers on a spreadsheet. How does this work? And staging doesn't fall right into that, yet I can go to the numbers and the numbers tell me staging has a massive impact for a seller when they go to sell their home. A huge percentage difference because some homes, they're just little bit different layout and we can stage them correctly, get some emotion behind it. Because the reality of it is like we all like to believe that we're logical creatures. We do everything based on emotion. We make emotional buying decisions, right? That's why there's so many variations in homes and why they all look very different. The neighbor's home may sell for more money than this home, ultimately same floor plan, just based on their presentation. So really excited to have Nerene here. Now, for those that are watching, again, this is meant to be interactive. So type into the chat box, 1, let us know that you're here. 2, let us know what specific questions that you have that you would like Nerene and I to cover. Are we running into some technical difficulties?
Yes, I am. I touched the screen when I shouldn't have. I hit the chat button and everything went away. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries, Nerene, right? We're really good at staging. We're not always great with technology.
It's absolutely the truth. That is why I'm impeccable, incredible team that has all of my weak spots. They hold me together.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into kind of the first thing. So we talked about the 3 things that are common that sellers make mistakes on. So what is the first one that you want to cover? Now, again, this isn't necessarily the 3 most important. These are just 3 common mistakes. So what's one of them you want to touch on?
So touching back to who I am and how I frame what I do. I see a lot of people when I go in for consults who have lived life in a structure for a number of years, right? And they've lived it the same way. The TV has been stuck in the same spot, whatever. They haven't moved themselves out of the emotion of this is my home. We need to, as good stagers, and I would say as a listing agent, we need to help those people move their emotion from this is my home to this is my property, and then take the next big step, which is this is now my asset and I have to make it work for me. So oftentimes when I get into homes of people who have lived there for a number of years, and I'll say, well, we need to take the TV out or we need to move it. But the TV has always gone that way because if I move it over here, I'm going to have a window, glare, or, the usage of the room. Let's say let's go back to incorrect furniture placement would be in those things that we run into with the stuck emotion of this is my home and this is how it runs. So you got to market it that way, right? So we run into furniture impeding walkways and views and windows. The usage of the rooms is a big thing. How many times have you walked into the infamous exercise office / master bedroom room? And a buyer walks in there and they're like, well, this house isn't big enough to do everything I need to do. It tells a story that we don't want told. We want to tell the story that this room is for the couple of the home, the owner of the home. We want them to see it as a place of rest, not a place of mess, right? But when those people haven't emotionally detached from the home, they haven't started to separate, and that's part of the thing is we have to help them understand that they have to pre-pack their life and take their life out because we don't want to show off their life. We want to show off the home. So, so it's incorrect furniture placement, too many area rugs in a house. You walk in and the missus has had a ton of area rugs down because she's protecting her beautiful hardwood floor. But what that does really is it eats up visual square footage. When you look at it, the rooms seem very much disjointed and smaller and everything. Just simply taking out most of those area rugs, the room looks bigger. So helping them move from what I have always done to what needs to be done so that buyers can see beyond the homeowner and more toward where they will be as the owner of the house. So, and then other, areas are uniquely added furniture or features, excuse me. So how many times have you gone into a home where there's this beautiful fuchsia pink room, or, the infamous back in my day when we did feature walls that were hunter green or the burgundy, right? Those walls are still out there.
Oh, yeah.
Or I love this one. I just saw this one this last week. The 1990s, late mid 90s, we women were really into the country ducks. Remember the country ducks in the blue and the pink? There are still people out there that lived with those things for years and they still think people like them and they're cute and people need to see them. It's sometimes hard to move mama who has invested all that time of putting that wallpaper up into taking it down so somebody else can see it differently. But we have to do that. We have to help the seller move from the emotion of this is my life and this is how I live there to this is now how I have to market my asset.
Yeah, and I know that you share this with folks all the time, that once they've made that decision to sell their house, it's time to try really hard. Now, if you spent 20, 30 years, or maybe 5 years or 1 year, there's emotional involvement into that property. We have to try to sever that as much as possible. Now, that's easier said than done. For some people, it's easier done. There's just no attachment to it. But to start that process of, okay, this is no longer my home. This is now an asset that I'm going to sell and turn into cash. So the reality is we live in a home much different than we present the home. Very much like my car looks very, very different today than when I bought it off the showroom floor. They sold it a whole lot different than I live in my car. And I'm in my car for a lot of miles every year. I live in my car. Again, looks very, very different. I wouldn't sell it the same way. Right.
Exactly. And we have to help people understand that, when we go into, and this applies in a lot of the different areas, mistakes I see people make. But, if we have a home it's a more modern home, like let's say early 2000, mid 2000, but the people who bought it were older then and they moved their older furniture in, even if you have beautiful antiques, the buying population that may be buying that home may see that as grandma stuff. It ages the house, even though the house doesn't really need, or it doesn't, it's not necessarily an older home, but it ages it to make it feel like they're moving into grandma's house. Is this an estate sale? Did somebody pass away? So we have to help people see it as gently as possible, that your belongings, while beautiful and perfect for you, are not going to be beautiful and perfect to a buying population that may be looking at the structure that you're selling.
But I think that goes into the next point that you had, which was, not knowing that audience, not paying attention to how that property might need to be marketed. Because in my experience, when we're talking to buyers looking through homes, they'll get their eye caught into the furniture, even though when they buy the home, the furniture is not going to stay, yet that's all they're paying attention to in the photo. I was talking with a seller recently about one photo that was captured for their loft area, and she said, well, what about this photo? And I told her, I said, well, my eye immediately goes to the big oversized chair and then goes to the TV, and I don't really see anything else. And she took a step back, she looked at it, and she goes, you're 100% correct. I said, yeah, so we have other photos, we have better photos to do. So continue on that point around marketing to kind of the masses in that demographic that we're looking for.
Right. I like to call it, 98% of homes are sold on or with emotion, right? Or I should say, son. And if this is what I tell my clients all the time, if that statistic is true, that 98% of property purchases the decision is made greatly on a feeling. You've probably heard somebody say when they've gone into a home, oh man, this just feels perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here, I feel it, I love it, I could just be here forever, right? So there's something, you'll hear people talk about the emotion that is elicited, the feeling that happens. So if 98% of the time a home is sold on emotion and there is a mama involved in that emotion, I almost guarantee you that 99.9% of the 98% emotion is mama's. So we have to give that to her. So how are most people's emotions stimulated? And it's through our vision. It's sight. Think about it. If somebody jumps out at you, it's the movement that catches your eye that makes your heart race and makes you fearful, right? Or if you're walking down a street and you see a cute baby cuddling their mommy and gooing, your heart melts. It's from the vision. It's what you see that elicits the emotion. And it's the same way with a home. If we go into a home and there's just 4 blank square walls, or it's over-ownered and there's too much stuff in it, one, if it's empty, we don't know. It's almost kind of like a blindness that happens. Our eye doesn't know where to stop, where to imagine, what is this? It's just a big box, no emotion. If there's too much of the previous homeowner in there, our eye again doesn't know where to stop. It becomes visual clutter, right? So if we bring that back down and we use principles of marketing, principles of good design, good balance, and all that kind of stuff, take the negatives out, add the positives in, people are able to see the emotional uptick in the space. Nobody wants to move into a home that makes them feel like they're not taking the next step up in life, right? Even if you're downsizing, you want a nicer home than you just moved out of, even though it's smaller, right?
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So when, see the picture that Matt is showing here, let's go back to, well, let's stop right there,
Sorry.
Matt. Whoa,
Well, I was
good.
jumping too, and I wasn't sure if you could see my screen, but I was touching on some of the pieces. Right, this is, and I'm glad you can see it because I wasn't sure if you just had a camera up and you couldn't see the screen. But we're looking at, this is the same room, right? The top and the bottom. This is the same bedroom. Again, we live in it very differently than we sell in it. This is the same house, and yet I can tell you that I'm going to get 99 out of 100 people would much rather see this home on the bottom than this home on the top. It's the same house. It's the
The
same bedroom.
what you might not have noticed is that the end tables or the side tables are the same table. The bed is the same table. It is exactly the same room. Here's the differences. There is not an abrasive color that people may or may not like taking up and sending the emotion of, ooh, uck, I hate it. And two, I got to work, I got to pay somebody to do it. So all those negative emotions start happening subconsciously. They just, in the bottom picture, they feel a rest, a peace, right? All we did is add symmetry on each side, put in nicer bedding, tuck it in nice and neat, and get them to get rid of that abrasive color. And voila, you
Well,
have
it's just, yeah,
and
same
new.
bedroom, same furniture, same end tables, and yet the room feels bigger when I look at this photo here, even though the only thing that's missing is what's at the foot of the bed, and it barely showed in that top photo. This home feels bigger.
Right. The color on the wall did that. And then here's the trick. The symmetry on the two sides of the end tables pulls the room from side to side. That's one of the things that's helping this room feel bigger.
Yeah. So to touch on again, kind of the use and the demographic, here's one. This is a room that's set up as an office. Now, especially today, people are using bedrooms or home offices probably more than they ever have in history. So here's a home office. It looks like they took the door off the hinges if I'm looking over here to the right.
They had
Lots of lamps. I mean, lots of light. This, to me, looks like there's not going to be enough light in this room, that it's a very dark, dark home.
Yep, this room, it was in the same house, right? And it was a bedroom turned office turned storage room. That's what it was. I often tell people that you should take rooms back to how the architect or the builder intended the room to be used. People can oftentimes say, oh, here's a bedroom. You know, I could make this an office.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are buying homes, they don't typically tell you, the realtor, hey, I'm looking for a one bedroom, one office, two bath house, right? They say, I'm looking for X amount of bedrooms. We need to show them bedrooms. Unless it has enough of those bedrooms, unless it's like I just did one recently that was a 6 bedroom, 4 bath house or 5 bath house, right? Had enough bedrooms. So we staged one as a small office, the smallest one as an office. We staged the larger room, and I think this was a brilliant winning point. This realtor came up with this idea. I helped her get there. Homeschooling room.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's pivot with what's happening in our culture. And our culture is, a lot of people are figuring out, where am I going to school my kids? So let's give them the idea that it could happen in this house. So I would, and I do sometimes, take a bedroom and use it as an office, show it as an office, or now show it as a homeschool room. It really just kind of depends on, again, what is the psychographics, my word, what is the psychographics? What is the emotion? How is the use going to happen of the demographics of that farmed area, right?
Yeah.
Who is going to be moving in to this home? Who is going to be looking at this home? What is the likelihood that it's going to be a starter home or a more mature, their careers are set, they've started their family and everything else. Those two demographics are going to use the same structure differently. So it's really important to know who you're shooting your market at. Think cereals. Let's think of the cereal line. The kids' cereal is all at, I'm sitting in the grocery cart and it's all right there, those fun packages, right? The same cereal is down on the bottom in boring bags. Matt, you'll learn this one day. I want the box. I don't want the boring bags, right? I want the pretty. I want this thing that is shiny. I want to see that more, and I want to have that more than I want to have plain in the bag. It's the
Well,
same. It's the same walls. We just want to make it more pretty. We just want to affect the people that we're selling to, you know?
well, from personal experience, and I've bought both, the ones in the box almost always taste better. I don't know that it's the same cereal.
Matthew, our imagination.
Uh,
But
cool.
this is
So,
interesting room here. This is a room where the homeowners let their kid do what their kid wanted to do on the walls, right? You can see that. They loved it. They thought it was cool. Well, how many people are going to look at this and go, wow, this is really artistic? Or how many of them are going to look at this and say, this kid just had a fit, or helter skelter, or whatever? It's not going to appeal. Imagine this picture being on the MLS. That picture almost smells. Just look at it, right?
you can smell the photo.
Yeah, you can smell the photo. It doesn't, it gives you an emotion. Emotions elicit your other senses. So that's what that did. Well, here we did. We just got rid of the paint.
Well, you got rid of the photo smell.
Yes, you did. Absolutely. We calmed the room down. We said peace. What's supposed to happen in a bedroom? Sleep and relaxation. So the photo needs to say peaceful sleep and relaxation can happen in this room.
And it does. You feel a lot more calm and agree. Again, the paint makes a big difference. Obviously, the seller probably knew that it was going to have to be painted. Yet again, it's more than just connecting into what
Right.
just the paint, right? It's the entire presentation. So
Right here and go to another point. The third point, we hit not letting go of emotion, and we hit knowing your audience. But the other thing, go back to that picture for a second, if you will, Matt.
sorry. Yep.
The other one that we kind of skipped over a little bit is not seeing updates and professional services as actual investments, but seeing it as cost. So
Yes.
in this particular house, they had done a few upgrades and everything else, put some money in. Now they wanted to move on. They didn't want to take the time. They didn't want to put the cost in to making it sellable, right? To be able, they knew what they wanted. They knew the price point that they wanted, but this house in this condition isn't going to get them there. So it's, how do I help them see that investing in a paint job, investing in, 10 gallons of paint throughout the house, 10, 15 gallons of paint, how that is going to be a return on investment in not just money, but in time spent on the market.
Yeah, there's a few things that can always be done to kind of to jump to that, and to the point, if the rest of my house is updated and I have one room that's not up to the rest of the standard, that one room's going to bring the rest of it down, right? We have to have kind of that uniform feel through the house as we walk through. Very much the same. If I wanted to get new countertops, for example, and put them on top of the old cabinets, if the old cabinets don't have a facelift or a refresh to it, my mind is telling me that there's a mix match there, and it doesn't feel right. I lose what I've already spent and the value that's there in the countertops because the rest of it doesn't seem to match. So,
And
so talk about some of the updates that you advise folks to go through.
yeah, one of the first things is, think about it. Where does the first appeal or the word is escaping me, the rejection of the house happen? It happens as soon as somebody pulls up in front of that house, right? They're
It's the first
looking
thing
at
they see.
right? The curb appeal. We need to convince people that if they do not have the investment of time and energy to take care of that curb appeal, they need to hire some landscapers to come in and do it. If, especially during the summers, We need to convince them to water the living everything out of them. Yeah, your water bill is going to go up, but dead and trying to live do not sell homes, right? So dead grass or dying grass ain't going to do it, because here's what happens. It's a thing called transference. If I look at something that is unkempt, I'm going to look at that and say, well, if they couldn't do it, I can't do it, right? And we don't want that to happen subconsciously to our buyers. We don't want them to drive up. And I mean, you could have just spent $100,000 on the inside improving it, and you let the outside die. You're not going to get those buyers to even want to come in the door. You're going to set a subconscious thing of, oh, I'm about to see another turd, right? But if it's well kept on the outside, and I tell people all the time, look down your neighborhood. You have to compete with the neighbor's yard that is the best in your neighborhood. Try to get there. Do your best to get there. If you have branches that are, the canopy is low, bring that canopy up. You can't sell a home. Barb Schwartz, who is the pioneer of staging, she has always said you can't sell a home if you can't see a home, right? So bring that up to date. Make sure your numbers are clearly visible, and just clean that up. Don't let that front porch be something that they're sitting there looking around at the spider webs and thinking, oh, is this what I'm going to see everywhere? Don't let them look down in a window well right off the side and see a dead bunny, for goodness sake. Okay? Don't tell negative stories before they've even gotten a chance to come in the four walls and experience the four walls. So the outside is really important. Hire landscapers. The next one I tell people, my clients, all the time is consistency of finishes and fixtures help sell homes. Okay? So how do we get there? Well, one, your home, the age of the home, the age of the property is right there on the MLS. You can't hide it, right? But you can highlight it. You can highlight it by the first place people see it is in the lighting fixtures. You look up and you see an antique light fixture, or you see a bright gold light fixtures from the 80s, 90s, right? They're there. They're still out there. They still work. People leave them up. But buying public don't see them as something that is relevant to today's design style. So they see the whole house is old and outdated instead of just $100 fix. So go ahead and invest in that, because you're going to pay for that light fixture on the front side or the back side, right? You're going to pay for those rugs that are worn out on the front side or the back side. What do I mean by front or back side? Either you're going to switch it out and you decide what level of item, rug, light fixture, paint work, all that kind of stuff, what level you're willing to pay for, rather than having your buyers now come back to you and say, I want this much to get these things done. Guarantee you most of them are always going to ask for more than what you could have done it yourself. Right?
Well, it reflects in the sales price, right? So either we spend the money up front, or we spend the money on the backside because we sold it cheaper.
Right. And the wonderful thing, when we can get sellers to do those things on the front side, it lets realtors do this on the MLS. Repaint, new lighting, and fresh flooring throughout, or however you guys word that, right? It lets you highlight that. What is our goal with the MLS? Getting butts off couches and into the homes, right?
Yep.
If you can increase the excitement about a structure, feeling like it's going to be somebody's best, newest, they're going to be the first king or queens to sit on thrones of that home, they're going to move into that property. They're going to move to that property because they're going to want to see it. So those are all. New kitchen hardware is important. It's like jewelry in a kitchen. So sometimes maybe you don't have to get rid of the old honey oak cabinets if they're in really good shape, but maybe just updating it with a really modern, hardware. Maybe that's all it will take. It's like jewelry. You put a bigger diamond on a woman and she just feels prettier. I'm just telling you, 2 carats, it'll do it for me.
Am I going to have to talk to Lon about a bigger diamond?
Please do. Professional cleaners, hiring professionals to do what you haven't been able to, right? There's not one home I go into, even homes that have their own cleaners, where I can't find an area in the home where people have become what I refer to as dirt blind,
Hmm.
right? We just are in our homes, we're living our life in our home. We just don't see it anymore. The number one place is the door people come in and out of the house the most often, right? I know I have it in my house. When I'm leaving the house, I'm typically 5 minutes late, rushing out. When I'm coming back, my bladder says I'm a half hour late. So I'm in and out of the door and I see it. I see that there's fingerprints and I need to get back, but I forget and I don't get it done. So it's those areas. It's the spider webs up in the corner, the dirt on top of the curtain rods, those things that we just don't see anymore. So sometimes it is worth it to hire a professional cleaning crew to come in with fresh eyes and to find those areas. Now, here's what I do tell people. If you hire a professional cleaning crew, do a pre-scan, find those areas, write them down, and say to the cleaners, these are the areas I want you to make sure you touch.
It's the window tracks. It's on top of the fan. It's on top of the door. If you've got a upper level that looks over that front door, a lot of places it oftentimes just get missed. And then when somebody sees them, it's pretty detrimental. So the professional cleaning. Oh my
That,
goodness.
or here's one that nobody gets. Well, very few. But who goes into their bathroom and shuts the door on themselves to clean the bathroom, right? We forget to clean behind that bathroom door. There's like little fur creatures back there, you know? It's those areas that we just don't think of to clean anymore. So we just have to remember those things. Another thing that I wanted to talk on, and this is more the emotional side, that's going back to not letting go of emotion. You know how many homeowners I'll go into and I'll say, we need to remove evidence of your fur babies. And we get a lot of really negative pushback.
Oh yeah.
Well, as animals, everybody loves cats, everybody loves dogs. Nope, it's not true. A lot of people are allergic, and it's really an emotional battle to help them understand that they need to transition their cats, their dogs out, or at least not have evidence during showings.
Well, and I think it goes back into the same reason why we take down the family photos, because when we have the dog in the house or the cat in the house or the snake, the turtle, whatever the animal might be, when we have the family photos, when I walk into the house, Nerene, now I feel like I'm a guest in your house or the dog's house, the cat's house. When I walk into that house, I want to feel like this is my house. And I didn't bring my dog with me, even though I might love dogs. So in their house, right, we remove that.
Staging, good staging, is all about setting up an ideal for the sellers, helping the sellers feel like this is their castle the minute they walk in the door. I have people who have told me that if there's too many pictures up on the walls, even if they're baby pictures and their kids are teenagers, even if they're the old black and whites of their grandmas and grandpas, if there's a lot of family photos around, people will say, I feel like I've been watched throughout this house. You can't get comfortable. Here's the idea, is that we want to set a tone of comfort consistently through the house. If you can get a buyer to walk in the door, immediately feel calm and comfortable and invited in, excited to be pulled through by how you've placed the art, where you've set the furniture, all that stuff. If we can move them into that excitement and have that experience carry from room to room to room, there's a consistency that happens. I don't care who you are. As soon as you have consistency in your life, you get calm and comfortable there. Now, if we've provided them a comfortable place to sit down and to experience that calm and comfort, guess what they're going to do? They're going to sit down and experience life lived in this house. They're going to start making up where little Maggie's going to play, where we're going to set up the office, how our furniture is going to lay out, where are we going to put our TV? They're going to start imagining those things. When you can get people to stay in a time for an extended period of time, they're going to make offers on your home. I believe it.
Yeah.
And that's what staged up Colorado.
It proves out through the numbers. It's one of the reasons why that the team, the 212-degree team, one of the reasons why we net sellers more money is because we have one of our secret weapons is our stager, um, and the team around her and what she does. So, as we wrap up, to recap, there's the 3 points. One, not letting go of the emotion, right? Once I've decided to sell, this is no longer my home. This is an asset that I want to turn into the highest value that I possibly can. So detach my personal emotion from it. Number two was knowing who you're trying to sell the property to, and to make sure that we have that congruency throughout, that we don't have super outdated furniture in a modern and updated house, because my eyes are going to get caught on the furniture and not the beautiful fixtures and finishes and the wood floors, etc. And then number three, not seeing those professional services as that investment in a return. It's not making the small investments to take my house on a scale of 1 to 10 from a 7 to an 8.5 or a 9, right? And some of those small investments make a big difference. So, again, Nerene, I'd love to have you back to talk about future topics. Anything as we're wrapping up that you just want to conclude with?
Yeah, I'd love to have a look at our Facebook page, which is Staged Up Colorado. We keep that pretty current with pictures of our current stages. We run specials on there. You'll just get a feeling of who we are. But we're also rolling out LinkedIn. We're trying to get more. Okay, so we established right at the beginning of this thing, I'm not techie, right? But we're trying to hit more social platforms. And LinkedIn is one of the ones we're going on. So keep an eye out there for, it'll be under my name, Nerene Bolajak. And we're going to be having some offerings and doing some classes, as well as soon as COVID lets us up and lets us roll again, we're going to start back at our CE classes. We offer CE classes here in the Denver metro area. So keep an eye out for that. Join us on our platforms. And if you ever need help or just want to have a conversation, I like to talk, so give me a call.
Yeah. Awesome, Nerene. Again, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time and your team helping you out with the tech side of it so that we can get this rolling.
Thank
you. Yeah. Big shout out to Erica, who's helping Nerene there with technology. So again, for those that have tuned in, really appreciate you watching through. Let me know feedback or questions that you have. We can connect you directly to Nerene and her team. And again, want to have you back for future episodes. So thank you again so much. All right, Nerene. Be well.
Colorado.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bye, Matt. Thanks for having me.